Post-truth apocalypse. I'm Ben. As always, I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Claire.
Hey.
And Pete.
Hello.
This week, nice fluffy subject for once, isn't it? The island that ate the country that ate itself. I hadn't heard of this actually.
How do you pronounce the country?
Nauru.
Nauru.
You know, I've heard that so much in this week, and I still can't do it properly. Nauru. Yeah, light and fluffy.
Yeah.
Always
So
light and fluffy. We're
Christmas,
coming to the ball. Oh, we're on the approach to Christmas, guys.
Sounded a bit shit to me. It's a pun that no one will get for a little while.
No, I'm still waiting.
Beyond mate.
Predominantly, it all came from bird shit.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
That's where it all stemmed. That's where it all came from.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Alright,
Yeah.
well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, that one was fucking lost over everybody's head.
I never put the connection, to be fair.
No, I didn't know it. Good one though, yeah.
Yeah, you don't get the crown.
I wasn't asking for it really. I
don't care. Claire's still got the crown.
I've had it for quite some time.
She has actually. We haven't done that. We've been slacking on the
We
puns. Right, let's skip to it then because we're waffling. Right, cutting to the bull in the post through the apocalypse on Facebook. Cutting to the bull in the PTA on SoundCloud, Spotify, and all other podcasting platforms. And Apocalypse Bull on YouTube. Please give us a like, give us a subscribe, send us a message. Let's thank some of you new and returning listeners, and then we're going to kick the fuck out of the island that ate itself.
Yeah.
Bogota, Ecuador, Mike?
Colombia.
Ah, shit, yeah. Avila in Spain, Santiago in Chile, Icac in Germany. That's an odd one. Mumbai in India, Santa Maria in Argentina, Remschild in Germany, Rome in Italy, and Louvetot in France.
Oh,
Guadalajara, Spain. Don't forget them.
Yeah.
Well, of course, how could I ever forget?
And Ashburn, Virginia.
Obviously. Always the same. Thank you very much. Lying between Australia and Hawaii, the island of Nauru is as far from Europe as any place on Earth. And it wasn't until November 8th, 1798, when a British ship called the Snow Hunter, fuck yes.
That's a good name.
That's a good name. That is a good name for a ship.
In a complete wrong climate though, isn't it?
Yes.
There's not going to be far much snow.
You never know with a British merchant ship in 1798.
Not in the Pacific Islands, you know.
No.
Let's go right on the equator and look for snow.
Hey, it's a cool fucking name.
It is a cool name.
It's just an ironic name, wasn't
It's
it?
ironic, but it's cool. Snow Hunter. It was passing en route to the China Seas. That's when it was first spotted by a European. Hundreds of Nauruans canoed out to greet the sailors, and the captain of the Snow Hunter, John Fern, did not permit his men to disembark. I don't know, probably several reasons. Exotic VDs being one of them.
Well, you don't know who these people are. It's
Scary.
safety, isn't it?
Well, you've got muskets and they've got canoes. You've got cannons.
Well, they've got bows and arrows, I imagine. Spears.
You still got muskets.
Yeah, but still.
Either way.
Boomsticks, Mike. They've never seen a boomstick before, have they?
You always take it with caution, though, don't they? It's best to be a bit cautious. And
I was just thinking exotic VD.
it's probably what they were thinking as well, to be fair.
Captain Fern, it charmed him that welcome. There's a nice welcome in it. Captain Fern was charmed by it, as would I. And the warm winds, the island's green central plateau, the swaying palms and the white sand beaches. He loved that so much that he named it Pleasant Island.
I bet it was beautiful back then.
Oh, it would have been fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Barely.
Paradise.
You've literally got a few hundred people living on it. It's all self-sustaining.
Yep.
Oh, you got that bit of lush bit in the middle.
Lots of seagulls.
Plenty of seagulls, maybe the odd albatross.
And then came capitalism.
I bet they made for a fine Sunday roast, mind.
I dare say they would.
Seagull.
And you know what, Mike? As soon as you suggested this,
Yeah.
I knew exactly what your motive was, mate. I knew exactly what it was. This is just you to be this is your chance to be a Marxist, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a microcosm of the world. This
Right.
completely is.
Not that
This is what-
communism never strip mined anything, eh? Or did untold damage to the environment, though, is it?
I'm on about the criticism of capitalism.
Right. 'Cause the Soviet Union was so...
No, of course it was. It was horrific. Doesn't mean I can't still critique
No,
capitalism.
you know what, Mike? This is yours. This is your fucking critique of capitalism episode. You haven't had one for a while. You haven't even said your line.
There we go.
The sight and wafting stench of the snow hunters' motley crew must have come as quite a shock to the Nauruans, although I can't imagine them smelling much better, can you?
No. But they have been aboard a ship, haven't they? What,
That's true.
do they dip in the ocean or what do they do?
I would guess they'd have a dip, yeah. Because you wouldn't use the water on board for... They had pumps, so you could have showered in seawater. There was pumps, so manually operated pumps, but maybe they showered. To be fair, Claire, one area of history I've never looked into is the sanitary conditions on the British Royal Navy of 1798.
I assumed that it'd be like, they'd have lavatories, but there's a pipe going out to the side of the ship.
You went forward to the head decks, head deck.
There you go.
You trapped off the side of the ship, basically.
Yeah.
Not the poop deck.
Not the poop deck, as people claim to. No. Weird, that,
You
isn't
get-
it?
You get cat of nine tails for that.
Well, that's what the captain stands, I think. So, yeah,
You'll
probably.
probably find poo wasn't called poo in them days, though, was it? It wasn't.
Shit. Or excrement, if you're being polite.
I don't know.
Excuse me, I need to go and excrete.
It might have had a complete different term back then.
Scat, shit,
Yeah.
cack, caca. I don't know.
Nauru. At the time, life on the small island was mostly peaceful and predictable. Tension among Nauru's 12 clans did run deep, and now and again those disputes would turn deadly. Any year with light rainfall would cause great sufferings too. The island's only surface water is a brackish and shallow lagoon. Still, for thousands of years, Nauruans had managed to live largely in balance with nature, isolated but self-sufficient, with societal acrimony more or less kept in check. Captain Fern's naming of the island for the English-speaking world did not upset this stability, but it was an omen of dark times ahead. Enter William Harris.
Shouldn't he have asked the people what it was called? Or is that the translation?
Oh well,
I think
he's fighting
found
the
it.
island for the rest of the world.
He has to name it, and he's called it Pleasant Island, whereas they call it Nauru.
They should have asked you right, but it's the
I think there's a bit of a language barrier,
arrogance,
though.
isn't it? Really? Well, there is a language barrier, I guess.
You know, not everyone's. It's not like nowadays, Mike, where you rock up in Africa and someone says hello. Deepest, darkest Africa. You crawl out the African jungle and there's a bloke in a Man United shirt and he says, "Alright, Del boy, you want a cup of tea?" You know, not everyone spoke English. Sadly. Strange times. William Harris touched ground in Nauru in 1842 after escaping from Norfolk Island, a British penal colony about 900 miles east of Australia. He did not go there in search of pearls or diamonds or gold, and he wasn't looking to trade. He went to live a carefree and easygoing life as a beachcomber, one of many convicts and deserters then hiding out in the South Pacific.
Oh yeah, it beats a prison cell, doesn't it?
Fucking does. Beats being stuck on some shitty Pacific island behind walls, doesn't it?
Of course.
I can't imagine life as particularly fun in a penal colony in the 19th century.
No.
Whenever I hear penal colony, I just think of penises. Just like a bunch of willies running around.
I think of sexually transmitted crabs. The penal colony is like a colony around your penal.
No, I just picture lots of penises. That's weird, isn't it? That's what you
Pete-
picture, is it, Claire?
No.
Please. She was just... I could see her mouthing the word cock. Cock.
Oh dear.
The first beachcombers had come to Nauru in the early 1830s. Life was not as happy-go-lucky as they were likely imagining. During the 1830s, John Jones, like Harris, a fugitive from Norfolk Island, had ruled the Nauruan Islands with brutality, murdering at least a dozen beachcombers. So he's like, this is my fucking island. You don't come here. And he brutally murders them. Jones stayed on the edges of Nauruan society, brokering deals with passing ships to trade pigs and coconuts for tobacco, liquor and rifles. Oh, guess who this is going to end up? These guys have never had tobacco, alcohol or firearms.
Nope.
Oh, this isn't going to go well, is
They
it?
didn't give them all at the same time.
There've been like a few here, a few there. Those Nauruans
Yeah,
and more
a few
pigs.
trades here, a few trades there.
Yeah, you've got I've got these firearms and some ammunition. Maybe you give me that pig.
And
Yeah.
you know already that between the 12 tribes, animosity runs a bit deep.
Oh, well, if you played this properly, you could arm them all equally and just fucking stand back and you supply everybody.
Yep.
Then at the end-
That's the way all wars work.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You're at this
The
point.
bankers don't take sides.
At this point, you're what they call
They
a
own
merchant of
manufacturers.
death.
And you just clean up at the end and take all the guns and sell them on to somebody else. And
Go
everything
to the
else.
next,
and
go to the next
everything else.
inhabited island.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got these guns. Now, eventually, Jones fell out with the Nauruan chiefs, and after he blamed them for all the murders he did. In 1841, they exiled him to Banaba, a neighbouring island 185 miles east of the Nauru. So William Harris was lucky then to arrive in Nauru after Jones had been cast off the island. Like other beachcombers, he helped the Nauruans barter with passing Europeans, but he took a different tack with the Nauruans, integrating into their society by marrying a native and raising a large family. He would live on the island for nearly 50 years and witness island life change in ways unimaginable to any past generation of Nauruans. That's not bad though, is it, eh? Knock up, go native, as they used to call it in the Empire days. You marry a local, raise a family, go native, start dressing like them.
Living in paradise.
Yep. So by the 1870s, guns were in homes across the island, and Nauruans were smoking and drinking heavily, especially sour toddy made by fermenting coconut flowers. After a chief was shot and killed during a drunken quarrel, Nauru began to spiral into violence. Ugh. Retaliations were swift and deadly. Traditions for resolving conflict did little to slow the escalating feuds among clans and families. Neighbours slew each other, and skirmishes turned into bloodbaths.
Fucking hell.
In 1881, the British Royal Navy dropped anchor off Nauru, and Harris boarded the flagship to inform the captain that a civil war had broken out on the island. The captain communicated the fleet that an escaped convict is king. All hands constantly drunk, no fruit or vegetables to be obtained, nothing but pigs and coconuts. Don't you hate it when that happens? You go somewhere and there's nothing but pigs and coconuts. Like a Telford nightclub in the 90s.
No, still.
I was being polite. At the time, Nauru was of minor strategic value for the colonial powers, jockeying around in the Pacific for snatching up little islands and planting the flag.
Yeah.
Well, empire follows trade.
Yep.
After all.
But there wasn't. But Nauru was obviously.
There's not much there,
Just
is
pigs
there?
and coconuts.
Pigs and coconuts.
And not much water.
No. Shit water at that.
No.
Then one day, in 1899, the geologist Albert Ellis inspected a rock-like object that was propping open a door in the Sydney office of the Pacific Islands Company. Much like the East India Company, they're like a trading and plantation firm. You gotta look at Albert Ellis here and go, oh, what's that interesting doorstop you've got there? I'm gonna take that away and examine it. In the meantime, your door's closed and there's nothing more to open with.
That's hardly their concern, though, is it? I mean, what he manages to find out.
Well, no, I just think it's a bit dull of the man is all. Like, oh, look at that fascinating doorstop, I'm going to take it away and do tests on it. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. What a dull fuck.
Well, what a lucky find.
Well, it was a massive lucky find because he'd been told it was a piece of petrified wood from Nauru. But this didn't seem right, and soon after some tests, he would soon discover it was actually high-grade phosphate ore, a super fertiliser worth a potential fortune if he could locate the source. This stuff's like gold at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and this island has a shit ton of it. A metric shit ton.
Why?
Sailing to Nauru in 1901, Ellis found that 80% of the entire island, which is the raised central plateau the Nauruans called topside, was rich in phosphate of lime. And the Pacific Islands Company was renamed the Pacific Phosphate Company, and in 1905 a deal was made with Germany to mine Nauru, because the Germans owned it at this point. They had a little nominal presence, didn't they? Like 4 dudes or something like that. And everyone's drunk off their ass anyway. A year later, the first boatload of Nauruan phosphate would sink in a storm off Australia, but this did little to deter miners, and over the next decade, Nauru would export hundreds of thousands of tons from phosphate. The Germans had it, and then we nicked it after World War One. Basically. When the Australians actually took it over during World War One, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah, and then the Japanese had it briefly during World War Two.
Yeah, and like murdered loads of people because they're twats.
That's like a strategic platform or something.
It's the Japanese philosophy of making the Americans take every inch of land, so that even if there's a tiny little Pacific atoll, they'll put a platoon of men on it and tell them to dig in.
And plus now they know that there's tons of phosphate on there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whereas the Germans didn't realise, so they didn't really bother with it.
It's not very efficient of the Germans for once, is it? Usually they're quite on the ball with these things.
Well, they got to paradise and they were just like, let's just chill out.
Just sit here and drink my cold German lager that I'm having brought in by ship.
Yeah.
It's not a bad post, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'd imagine the mosquitoes would be fucking pleasant though.
The size of small fucking birds they are.
Probably, yeah. Now, the Nauruans had never built homes on topside, preferring the cooler shoreline. But topside was home to wild almond and planted pandanus. How do you say that? Pandanus trees?
Pandanus.
Pandanus trees. Anus trees, eh? As well as flocks of birds, including terns, noddies, frigate birds. Miners cleared the scrub, ferns and trees, scraped away the topsoil, and then dug the ore out of the pits and crevices of the ancient coal underneath, and little care was taken. Photographer Rosamund Dobson Rowan, writing in 1921 for the Nat Geo magazine, describes the after effects to quote her, "A worked out phosphate field is a dismal, ghastly tract of land, with its thousands of upstanding white coral pinnacles from 10 to 30 feet high, its cavernous depths littered with broken coral, abandoned tram tracks, discarded phosphate baskets, and rusted American kerosene tins." Sounds like shit, doesn't it?
Doesn't it, compared to what it was?
Almost sounds like the aftermath of a war zone.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. You'd describe it as a no man's land, wouldn't you? Before it was a paradise.
Yeah.
Now it's shat, to put it bluntly.
Well, no, it was shat. It's no shat no more. It's all been taken.
By this time, Australia was ruling Nauru, having captured it from Germany at the start of World War One. And it declared the island as an offshore mining site and began to focus on building mining infrastructure, mechanising mining and ramping up exports. By the early 1920s, Nauru was exporting some 200,000 metric tonnes of phosphate a year. Fucking hell, that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 decades later, it was more than 4 times that, and all priced well below the world average to subsidise farmers in Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain, a triumvirate of nations organised as the British Phosphate Commissioners and given mandate by the League of Nations, the UN at the time.
They ripped them off then, basically.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no, because no deal has been struck with them, so technically you're not ripping them off. But at the same time, we are destroying their island.
Yeah.
Yep, taking all the profits for ourselves.
Now, I kind of get it. I'm going to play devil's advocate slightly. In 1940, when we owned this, 39 and 40, we need to maximise food production, therefore we want super fertiliser. So as we did the same to every other country in the empire, basically raided it to pay for victory, I'll give them some justification as a devil's advocate. Is anyone else going to agree with that? Or disagree?
I feel a bit Mike, to be honest. I'm kind of teetering on me left bollocks on one side of the fence, me right bollocks on the other. I'm sat right on the
Is the board of the fence right betwixt your cheeks?
It really is, and it's kind of painful.
It's
I'm
difficult,
not
isn't
sure which way to go.
Because
Right?
Claire seems to have a smile on her face though.
we clearly prospered from their
Sorry.
what would end up being misery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
it wasn't ours to take, was it? It's theirs.
We're a bunch of skunks.
Yeah.
finders keepers.
As we'd always been.
Finders keepers.
Losers weepers.
You know, that's the whole point of colonialism, isn't it? Finders keepers.
You haven't found it. You're taking it, or you know.
Yeah, but they
They
don't know.
found
But
it.
they don't know.
Taking it for cheap.
But they don't know what they're sat on.
No, they don't. That's true.
You know.
But it's up to them, isn't it?
I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't give
And
them
they
some of the profits, or at least bring them stuff to trade for
They
it.
should have the most of the profit, shouldn't they? And then things do change a bit later when they become independent.
Yeah.
Have we
But this time, it's all the profits are going to the company and
Yeah.
their shareholders.
Oh yeah. Have we brushed how it was so rich in phosphate?
Bird shit.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned that. As
You
such.
just want to justify your pun.
No, I just thought it was a really interesting part of the story.
I don't, well, if,
Basically, the way
loads of
that
bird shit.
There is a shittest part of the story.
The phosphate. All I'm going with is the phosphate's there.
yeah, but why was it there and
'Cause-
there particularly?
Maybe it
Bird
was
shit and coral. Sorry, Claire. go on.
inhabited by birds, isn't it? Maybe it was like, you know, before humans were along.
Is this where your research tunnel went down, Pete, into finding the formation of phosphorus?
Maybe. No, I just thought it was really interesting the way that it just so happened that this particular point, more than any other little island. Now you've got to think how many fucking hundreds of little islands there are around that area. Indonesia, all the Hawaiian Islands, all these different fucking. There's loads.
Well, Indonesia's a peninsula, isn't it?
Bit further over Indonesia.
No, but you've got the Indonesia. It comes down above kind of Australia and that, and then you've got all these fucking islands, hundreds of them.
Pacific Islands, yeah.
And why this
Yeah.
particular island was so strong in it was because all these birds were nesting there.
Well, it was
or
a
whatever,
bird paradise, wasn't it?
But yeah, but why was it that specific island? It was just mad, wasn't it? Really, it was a
Yeah.
fluke that they found it, and the fluke that they
Yeah.
realised how strong it was
Mm-hmm.
there. But it was only there because the old coral that had been at one point under the ocean. I'm assuming that island would have been under the
Yeah,
sea.
some
then.
coral there, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, yeah.
Between the mixture of the old decaying rotting coral and the tons of shit that were produced from all the birds that were clearly nesting on the island, it's just mad how it created that the perfect storm kind of thing.
Well, certainly the companies loved it.
Well, yeah.
The phosphate mine would briefly grind to a halt after Japan invaded Nauru in 1942,
Bastards.
and Japanese troops were, of course, merciless. Beatings, summary executions, deportations, forced labour camps, and mass drownings.
They drowned the lepers.
They drowned the lepers.
They were ruthless, weren't they?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah. Yeah, they were.
It's hard to imagine now, though. When we think of the
Mm.
Japanese, they're like one of the most peaceful nations on earth. Like 100%, and there's not even any hiding that they're actually trying to bomb us all. Really, no, they're really not. They are actually because they vowed, didn't they? After
Yeah,
they were bombed.
although saying that, they have a defence force, and that's it. It's purely used for defence.
yeah,
Although they did deploy troops to the Gulf, but they never saw action. They were like guarding prisoners and shit like that.
yeah,
But they've recently put a massive defence budget spending in. I think they've knocked it up by 2 or 3%, maybe even more, because of the threat from North Korea. So now
Wow.
they're buying all their shit from America and
Yeah, but
building their own
compared to
stuff.
what they were in the second
Oh,
World
This
compared-
is what I
War,
mean. It's hard to imagine
Yeah.
how.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
how ruthless
absolutely.
they were because
They were-
what they are now. Such a peaceful nation.
Checking out our Christmas episode from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's why we made Claire scream out loud. Unit 731.
Yeah. We watched the little video and
Oh, right.
they smash her, like they froze her hands, didn't they? And then smashed them off with
and they degloved them.
Yeah.
Oh, that feel that. Oh,
They
that's not
degloved
nice,
their
is it?
arms up to the
'Cause
forearms.
they froze them, hadn't they? They froze their hands and arms
Smashed-
totally,
yeah.
and then put them in some sort of hot water. Was it just
Yeah.
hot water or
Yeah.
something?
And they kept doing that
Yeah, and all the
until they were frozen, like till there was ice,
yeah.
like an inch thick around up to her forearms, and then put it in hot water,
And then
And it just peeled back the
peeled
skin.
back
and
the
then peel
skin.
back the skin.
Okay, now.
And I was like, oh!
Claire screamed. It was hilarious. They were nasty bastards.
Yeah, they really
To be
were.
fair, in that particular period of history. At war's end in 1945, fewer than 600 Nauruans remained on the island, and a quarter of the Nauruan people had died. They had a population of about 11,000 at this point.
Wow.
Most of them had been taken off for forced labour,
Mm.
executed, and there's 600
Or
left.
fled.
Or fled. The United Nations put Nauru under a trusteeship of Australia, Britain and New Zealand, with Australia once again administering the island.
So yeah, everything back to normal.
Yep, it's been
Carry
given
on
back.
taking that phosphate.
And of course their phosphate industry was almost immediately revived, and a few years later exports were higher than ever. Over the next 2 decades, exports would rise steadily, and Australian and New Zealand farmers are paying far below market prices until 1963. By the time Nauru gained independence in 68, more than 35 million metric tons of phosphate
Oh,
had left its shores. Enough phosphate to fill dump trucks, or bin trucks, if you're in Britain, part end to end from New York City to Los Angeles and back again.
back again.
Oh,
That's a lot of phosphate.
I've got no clue on New York to Los Angeles though, so
They're
One
opposite
coast to
sides
the
of the
other.
country.
right.
Literally, New York is on the east, Los Angeles on the west.
It's
It's
a couple
right.
of
It's like,
thousand
it's like
miles
across the
away.
fattest part of America.
Couple
Yeah.
of thousand miles, isn't it?
More than that, probably. Yeah, like 3,000, 4,000 miles, something like that.
That's what you just said.
Oh,
wasn't
sorry. Oh, these are like a couple of thousand.
Well, it's a couple of thousand
Yeah.
and another couple of thousand.
Oh, yeah.
by
Either way,
twice,
it's a
isn't it? Yeah.
fucking long ass
Yeah,
way.
that's fucking mad. That's a massive number, isn't it?
it? Yep.
35 million metric tons.
It's huge. It's huge.
surprised there's any of the island left.
Well, that's,
the
it,
problem.
innit?
That does become a major problem.
This is the issue that we're going to have later on. Spoiler
Ah.
alert.
So, can I just clarify something very quickly? Metric ton, yeah? 1,000 kilos.
Mhm.
What's a non-metric ton?
1,000 imperial pounds, or is it? Oh.
Dunno.
I know an imperial ton is like 1,000 pounds or something like that.
Right, okay, so it would be light, yeah, so it would be lighter than a metric ton.
I think an imperial ton's more.
Nah, 'cause a pound.
It's 2.2 pounds to the kilogram.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah. Oh, just to be fair, I don't care either. So in 1968, 1/3 of Nauru had been strip mined, and Nauruans were living. Did I say Naboo the first time?
I think you did.
I think I did.
I didn't catch
1/3 of Nauru had been strip mined, and Nauruans were living on a narrow ring around a plateau of jagged, spiky, razor sharp coral and limestone pillars. During the interwar years, and again after World War II, Nauruan landowners did receive token royalties, and small trust funds were set
That's
up.
nice of him,
This
isn't it?
is.
It is a tenner.
So,
See how
so
much do
that
they?
means it's not outright theft, because the Nauruan share was tiny though, considering the profits, damage and cost of
Of course, it was token
restoring
royalties,
mining
wasn't it?
land. After independence, the Republic of Nauru, as it became known, chose to cash in on its remaining phosphate, increasing exports, despite knowing that supplies had run out within a generation or two.
Well, that's just incompetence, isn't
It is, isn't it? Yeah,
Were they taking backhanders from the phosphate company?
probably.
They are politicians after all.
Yeah. And the guy who took over, I think we'll come across him in a
Yeah.
bit, was like Australian educated and partially raised. So he's like, oh, he knows how to deal with these guys because he can speak the language fluently. He's learnt in their schools and their colleges. And it's like, he's just become one of them though, hasn't he? He's forgotten his heritage.
Well, we'll see.
So on paper, at least, Nauruans became wealthy over the next 2 decades. In 1975, Nauru's Phosphate Royalties Trust was valued at over $1 billion. Australian dollars. And the country's...
So about 50p then.
Nowadays, yeah. And the country's per capita gross domestic product was second only to Saudi Arabia.
It became the second richest country in the world.
And as we all know, Saudi Arabia is a damn fucking rich country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, most Nauruans certainly do not live in luxury, but the government did not tax incomes. They provided free education and health care and was the main employment for the local Nauruans.
Now, look at the difference. Since 1968, all of a sudden, the phosphate company's got getting all the profits, the government's getting the profits, and they're making it better for their inhabitants.
They're prospering.
Yeah, they've got a comfortable life, they've got free health care, free education. These guys are like, money's flowing at the end of the day, but they have no concept of it. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You got people buying like packs of cigarettes for $50 bills and leaving saying keep the change.
Why?
Because they've got no concept of what it is. It's just like, here you go.
And there was a lot of government waste as well. So the government, although it was doing some good things, it was also doing some terrible things as well.
Yeah, it's buying fucking cruise ships and aircraft and overseas hotels, and politicians are known to charter flights to just shop and vacation abroad. And even then, sports cars became a prized possession in Nauru, even though driving leisurely around the island only takes 20 minutes.
About 5 minutes in a Lamborghini.
Yeah, one police chief imported a Lamborghini. He only discovered that he was too bulky to squeeze behind the wheel.
Is it like the size of Isle of Man? Isle of Wight kind
It's
of
tiny,
thing?
it's the smallest nation in the world, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Actually, not.
Isle of Man... Sorry, Isle of Wight is part of England,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Does that take 20 minutes to get across the island?
I was trying to work it out. I was trying to think like how... Yeah, it's probably not far off.
Well, they have that bike race round it, so it can't take that long, can
That's
it?
Isle of Man.
That's the Isle of Man.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to
Fucking
gauge a concept of
Mm.
the how like miles like tip to tip. How many miles is it? I wonder.
Well, if it takes 20 minutes driving leisurely, I'd say,
Yeah.
what, 20 miles?
At
the most?
absolute
If that.
most.
Maybe 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do what, 30 miles an
Yeah,
hour?
look it up, Pete. You'll
Yeah.
check it.
So a lot of stupid things happened, record Nauruan native Manoa Tongamalo in 2008. People were going to a shop, buy a few sweets, pay with a £50 note, not take the change. They use money as toilet paper. So they got the money's coming in, but they got no concept of money.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I've got to use this to pay for that. Yeah, all right, whatever, keep the change. They've got no idea of how much it is compared to what.
Oh, yeah, 'cause-
what things should cost. They've just been rushed into Western civilization over the space of 10 years.
A few generations, yeah.
Surely the product would have a price.
Yeah, but you don't know what it should cost anyway.
Wow. So its area is 8.1 square miles.
Well,
Fucking hell.
So you're talking 2 miles for 4 miles,
well,
essentially. Or it could be 3 by 2. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Probably could take 20 minutes because they're going to go around the whole circumference.
Yeah,
rather
but
than
it is
go-
only about 3-4 miles at its
it's
longest
tiny.
point. Like
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
that's mad. That is.
it is.
That really is tiny. It's half the size of the Isle of Wight. I think.
Now, during this time, Nauru was also seeking compensation from Australia, New Zealand and Britain for the damage done by mining before July 1967. As the administrator, Australia knew well that mining was decimating Nauru, and by the early 1960s Australia was proposing to resettle Nauruans in Australia, including an offer in 1963 of citizenship and limited self-rule on Curtis Island, just off the coast of Queensland. That's actually not a bad offer, really, is it?
Nah.
I know you fucked their island up, but that's not bad.
Yeah, but limited self-rule, I mean...
Well, that's not too shabby.
Well,
You
we know
pay your
how
taxes to Australia,
How
but
do
they leave you
Australians
alone.
treat their indigenous peoples?
Well, at this point, mate, they're on an island off the coast, they're just leaving them to it.
Well, I'm just saying...
You might have a couple of policemen there, and...
Even now, they still don't treat them well, do they?
Oh no, it's pretty much the equivalent of the Native American settlements, isn't it? What they call them? They put the Native Americans.
The
Aborigines.
reservations.
They just stick them on reservations,
Yeah.
don't they? And then everyone becomes an alcoholic and beats their spouse.
Yeah,
usually.
so it's not a great deal, is it?
No,
You're not going to be like the white people.
it's not a bad offer though. Australian citizenship with it,
Yeah, I know, but
bringing in the benefits that
the
entitles.
Aborigines have got citizenship. That doesn't mean shit, does it?
Oh no, I'm just saying it's not a
Right.
bad offer.
No, but they have fucked the
Because they fucked their island, but at this point they've gone, you know what, we did fuck their island. We should probably give them
Better
something.
than nothing, isn't it?
It's better than no.
Yeah,
You know, they'll stick you on an island and let you just get on with it.
yeah. However, Australia were unwilling to consider compensating them.
That's the problem, innit? In 1989, Nauru took Australia to the International Court of Justice, and Australia could see that Nauru had a strong case, and the parties settled out of court, with Australia agreeing to pay 57 million in 1994, as well as another 50 million Australian dollars over the next 20 years, and later on the UK and New Zealand each contributed 12 million Australian dollars to reduce the burden. But to some extent this settlement was a moral and legal victory for Nauru, but considering the damage, the compensation was a financial pittance.
Of course.
Well, they fucked their island, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let's face it.
And they've made billions and billions on top of that.
Do you know what?
By
When
doing
you think of the size of the island, and you think of the amount they've taken off of that island, that in itself, that's fucking immense. Because take off that many fucking tons of 35 million tons at that point in what was that 1960 something?
Yeah.
1968, or was it they've taken like they've taken what?
35
Yeah.
million tons, yeah.
Yeah.
So forward another 20 odd years of them mining out and profiting off it. How much do you think they've taken in
they've
total?
earned 2.5 billion Australian dollars, which is enough to set the country up for generations.
Yeah.
Keep everything going as it is. Wages, you know, just keep it. That's 2.5 billion to them for fucking like, I don't know, at the most 11,000 people.
I'm just
That's
think-
not bad. That would be generations worth of government and your free healthcare, your free education, you know, scholarships to fucking. You run a country on the country that size. You could run that for fucking 2 generations.
I'm just thinking more so on the side of what's fucking left of this small island.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's
the
all this
problem.
island
This
actually physically
This
gone?
is the problem, and by the 1990s, Nauru's phosphate resources are running low, and they're thinking, oh shit, where's the money going to come from? We never thought this would happen, or if we did, we just thought it'd be like after we're dead.
Yeah, but what's actually physically left of the island? Because that amount
It's that top bit. Everyone lives around the coast.
yeah.
It's the central top
So it's
plateau.
like it was just like a
Yeah.
mountain out of the sea almost, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. This middle bit is a plateau that's flat and raised
Yeah.
above the coast, and they all live around the coast, and that's where the road is. That's where everything is.
So 120 years ago, it was a mountain that was 150 meters tall, and now it's like a completely flat fucking sea level. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to work out
No,
like the
'cause they
logistics
mine-
of it.
Strip mines, you can layer off, layer, and all them
But you go
birds
down
have been there for
into-
thousands of years, shitting, and then stuff comes over the top and shitting, and stuff comes over the top and shitting, and it all gets buried into layers.
I
So
understand
they're just
that.
taking the layers off gradually until literally the middle of the island is level with the rest of it.
That's
but
what
it's
I
not
was saying.
that high.
I know,
It's
I
just
was
that-
exaggerating when I said
Yeah.
it was like a 100 metre tall mountain, but it would have been, surely at one point,
A bit
that would
higher,
have been
yeah.
a lot taller than it is now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they've completely changed the landscape of this small little
Of
island.
course, it was filled with
Taken,
Sort of
exotic
birds and trees
yeah.
and
but taken all of its
coconuts.
value away, and now it's just like a fucking
It's a
shell of an
wasteland. It's a wasteland now.
a shell of an island.
It's
essentially.
ate itself.
It's just hard to picture. I'm just trying to imagine a picture of it.
Well, you can
Maybe
see
back
it.
in the day.
Have a look
and
at a
now-
picture. Look it up on your phone. Aerial view of Nauru, and you'll see it.
Now, so the Nauruans are like, they're thinking, well, how can we get new income? Let's get creative. Let's speak to Duke Minks, who's one of their financial advisors, and he suggested they invest in a musical which he co-wrote and produced.
Musical.
A musical. Genuinely, a musical. A West End theatre spectacular.
Hilarious.
Make some money.
Make some money. It'll run for 20 years, you'll make millions.
Yeah.
I've co-wrote this. I've been a roadie for the one-hit wonder pop group Unit 4+2, whose song Concrete and Clay knocked the Rolling Stones off the #1 spot in 1965. And I've wrote this musical, so therefore I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I love how he thinks that gives him the kudos to fucking be like, yeah, government, back me, come on.
He was also an executive of Citibank Australia when Nauru was a major client. So Leonardo the Musical. A Portrait of Love. It was a musical.
Sounds fantastic already.
It was a musical about a torrid love affair between Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa. However, the storyline does draw a fair amount of creative license. It's a bit of a love triangle because apparently the Mona Lisa was betrothed to this sort of a bastard, this soldier who didn't treat her very well. And in June 1993, more than 100 Nauruan dignitaries, including the president, were due to fly to London for the opening night. They almost didn't make it. As the party prepared for takeoff, people swarmed the tarmac to prevent the plane from leaving, yelling in protest and hanging onto the aircraft to try and keep it aground. Fucking hell.
Why?
Because they're like, what you spent all our money on this for? And now you're all flying off at our expense to London. And I bet they've only got like they got 100 dignitaries. Where they landed the plane?
Well,
Scarborough Airport.
I don't know.
They must have put a landing strip straight in the middle of that island.
Yeah, they've got one, yeah. They've got an airport.
So 100 people, that could still be like a Hercules-sized aircraft that take off. I don't know, I've no idea. Anyway, people swarmed it, probably presumably angry with the amount of money being spent on this project when you've all got no money.
That is hilarious, isn't it?
Eventually, the police arrived and cleared the runway, and the president and his staff flew off to London for the black tie premiere.
They had a party at the Waldorf Hotel as well.
Oh, very nice.
But that cost half of their fucking fortune they'd saved.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. The problem was, it was shit. It's one of the biggest disasters in the history of London theatre.
That's hilarious.
It closed in a month, and the Nauruan government lost what will be today $7 million.
Now you can understand why the residents...
That's why they swore in the fucking tarmac.
Yeah.
He wasted $7 million on that.
You could have built a fucking school
Yeah.
and a hospital.
What were they thinking? Write a musical about a love story between Da Vinci and Mona Lisa?
I don't know.
He'd have been better off turning fucking, I don't know, one of
Building a
Shakespeare's...
hospital or school, like you said?
No.
Well, no, but one of Shakespeare's plays into a fucking musical or something.
No,
He'd have been
no.
better off doing something like that.
What you do is you go completely visionary and you do Sharknado for $7 million and it recoups hundreds of millions.
Well,
You
Who-
get into
who saw that
shitty
coming?
B-movie crossovers for $7 million. That's what you do. Not West End musicals. Oh, man.
But
Sharknado.
it wasn't the only thing they did, was it?
No. Trying to diversify the economy before phosphate supplies ran out, Nauru turned to offshore banking, licensing around 400 foreign banks by the early 1990s.
This was mental. You didn't have to have a license or anything to open a bank, or passport or nothing.
Just, yeah, open a bank. There you go. Tony Owoda, in 1991, in charge of licensing banks, explained his government's reasoning to the Australian, which I assume is some kind of Australian news outlet. After the phosphate industry comes to a close, we have to go into other areas that are more sustainable and renewable each year. So, but it is pretty much illegal. You know,
It
it's
basically became an offshore money laundering place for Russian mafia.
yeah. To open a bank, it's not even necessary to visit Nauru, let alone open a branch on the island. Even keeping bank records was optional.
What?
Yeah.
By the 1990s, Nauru was offering economic citizenship, selling passports with little scrutiny.
Scrutiny.
The Nauruan government did earn millions of dollars a year in fees, But these schemes turn Nauru into a haven for tax evasion and money laundering, with tens of billions of dollars of criminal profits washing through in the 1990s.
The Cayman Islands.
Basically,
little
but
place like
But
that.
completely unregulated.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really lax. This is nothing. You haven't even got to open a branch. All you've got to do is register your bank with the Nauru government, give them some money, and they'll let you operate out there. That is fantastic. And also, the passports they're offering were diplomatic immunity passports. They were diplomatic passports. See, Lethal Weapon 2? Diplomatic immunity. You know? He could have well been from there. That's what he
was
could
he
have.
Jamaican? I don't remember.
I seem to recall he was.
Oh,
I was confused. I can't remember him being Jamaican, to be fair.
Well, I seem to recall he was from somewhere like that.
I thought it was Russian. To be
I thought it
honest.
was Russian.
Yeah.
Wow, have I really just miswatched that film? Did I download the wrong Lethal Weapon 2? Did wonder why Mel Gibson was a woman who got fucked a lot.
I definitely want to hear that Russian accent again. We'll be bringing that one back, definitely.
Oh right, like he says, diplomatic immunity. That's better Russian, isn't it?
No, that was
That's a bit
still
South
Jamaican.
African.
Ah shit.
That was, with a swag
shit.
of South African.
I can only do Russian when I say Ivan. Oh no, I can't do that. No shit. Forget it. I can't do accents.
Abort!
Abort. I can't do accents. I'm not going to try and do it. Because I'm sure I've watched a film where a Jamaican man said diplomatic immunity.
Maybe.
That's what I'm going to go with.
Cool Runnings?
No. Definitely I've seen it. Offshore banking and selling passports could not fix Nauru's economic woes. Desperate for revenue and jobs, with cruel irony, Nauru agreed in 2001 to allow Australia to establish a detention centre on Nauru to process asylum seekers who'd been trying to reach Australia by boat. And by 2002, some 1,000 asylum seekers, mostly Afghan and Iraqi, had been ferried to Nauru, and for a few years Australian aid and processing fees added millions to the government coffers. Even the scheme, however, could not patch the gaping hole in the economy, as primary phosphate reserves ran out. Through the 1990s, phosphate exports have been in steady decline, although in the year 2000 they did manage to export another 500,000 metric tonnes. But by 2004, the boom was over, with exports tallying just 22,000 metric tonnes. That's still a lot. And if you are them, sorry Claire, go on.
That's loads. It's still loads. I just don't know how they kept on digging.
But how much is it worth per tonne? That's the thing, isn't it? If it's only worth $100 per tonne.
Well, the thing is,
And you got to think about all the corruption as well.
remember that when they were mining it for the Australian and the British Empire Phosphate Mining Corporation, whatever it was called, they were selling it to people at a massive discount. They're not doing that anymore. They're selling to everyone for as much as they can get, and it's still like super fertilizer, isn't it? Phosphates in the compost and this. Well, yeah, it's compost effectively, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super compost.
But now, remember, they've got to afford all that free healthcare, the free education,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
not collecting income taxes. So the government's getting nothing in apart from that phosphate. They've got to pay for everything.
God, imagine paying no tax. Oh, that's what it should be. No income tax.
That would be nice.
But then nothing would run.
You just stealth tax in other ways, but you get no income tax. That'd be nice.
Then you'd end up like Nauru.
There's got to be a way of doing it.
Well,
You've got to tax the rich one.
No, they need to
Simple.
boost it to like 25 grand a year before you start paying tax.
Yeah, that's fair. And but also tax the fucking rich. They never had it so good. They're like richer than the pharaohs were.
Mike, why are you wearing a fur coat? Is that real mink?
I'd never wear fur.
Where are you getting your money from?
See, we've still got the head on it.
Yeah. Simple heads. No, Mike's not really wearing a mink coat.
That
No,
is jackal.
unlike many people who say that, Mike's not sold out.
No, it's not mink coat, it's jackal coat.
What's the most expensive animal there is?
Oh,
Gotta be the rarest, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's the rarest animal?
Pandas are pretty rare.
Mike, why you got a nice pandas in the hallway?
Keeps me warm in the winter.
Are you mating it? Where's it got a hole in it?
I'm mating with it.
Goddamn pandas, it just conceive.
I bet there's something rarer than a panda.
That's gotta be, but
A lesser spotted mongoose or something.
the Tasmanian devil was respotted again recently. The last time I
Was it?
saw them, there was like 100 of them.
You wouldn't want a Tasmanian devil jacket.
No, not
though,
a Tasmanian devil, a Tasmanian... Oh, it's, still,
Tiger.
it's like a tiger, yeah. Tasmanian tiger.
Might have been spotted.
Might have been spotted, but they might be...
It might have been a chupacabra.
Maybe. Not in Australia, unlikely.
Might have been a dingo.
Or New Zealand. Could have been a dingo eating a baby.
They're not always eating babies there.
I used to assume they were.
Oh no, the dingo's got my baby again!
Yeah, you got hit with a brush and it's a baby girl. That's why Australians are all tough. The ones that
When I was a kid, I got ate by a dingo and he shut me out,
yeah,
bastard!
he's like the king of Australia now.
And then my dad put him on the Barbie, the fucker.
That's it, he's that dude is the king of Australia.
Oh dear.
So, Nauru's economy was in tatters in it. The government still wasn't collecting income tax. The public service was by far the main employer of Nauru nationals. State investments have gone awry. Years of recurring deficits. And the government's been borrowing heavily from Nauru's sovereign wealth fund to stay afloat. Struggling to pay wages and defaulting on loans, the Nauruan government agreed to allow Australia to step back in and manage the country's finances.
In 2004, that was.
2004. From 1968 to 2002, Phosphate earned Nauru 3.6 billion Australian dollars, with around 1.8 billion Australian dollars in profits.
It's not that much if you think about it.
It's about £4.50, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but think about the gas and oil companies, which billions they make each year.
Yeah.
This was from over decades, this one.
Yeah, 1968 to 2002.
The worst thing is though, when you think technically there's 10,000 people live on this island.
Mm-hmm. But if it had been invested...
What a fucking farce. Why wasn't it kept on the island and used the
There you
money
go.
properly?
If it
Every fucking person on that island could be wealthy, rich, well looked after. It's a shit.
Yeah, but I'd say that now. If it was invested judiciously, they reckon that the trust fund could have been worth $8 billion by 2004, with each Nauruan family pocketing 4 million Australian dollars.
Alright, yeah, it's only £1 each, but... I'm only joking, Australians. Your dollar's worth a bit more than that. £1.50.
So they could be millionaires, couldn't they? If
No,
they had
100%.
recklessly-
It's fucking selfish bastard
Yep.
twats. Government
Yeah.
man, it doesn't matter what country you're in, whether it's a fucking small, tiny little paradise island,
Yep.
the UK, not that that's a small paradise island, I meant as another example, or America. He's fucking goes from the tiniest to the biggest. You're all corrupt as fuck, man.
Yep.
Oh, it does
I
my
wish
head
I
in.
was corrupt. No one's offered me any money.
Yeah, but
I don't wish I was
Mind your
corrupt.
gears, Pete.
it makes my shit itch. It really does.
Yep.
Like,
So it should, mate.
Yeah.
but the worst thing is,
Our governments have sold us out.
but there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do about it.
Nope.
Until-
All you do,
Because you got a choice between one corrupt party or one slightly less corrupt party.
The
and
only
they
way
shop
around
around every
it.
now and again.
The only way around it is full on Guy Fawkes it. But then another
I'm
one would
with you.
replace it.
That's-
So
well, no,
it
because
wouldn't
I'll be
matter.
ruling that one, and you know it'll be judicious and fair.
God, let's keep it as it is. Thanks.
It'll be the fucking utopia if I was in charge.
Nah.
I just think it's a shame that it doesn't matter
It
who,
is, it's-
where,
yeah.
when. It's just all the fucking same.
Look what they've done. Look how they're destroying the world.
Money
Poison our
creates.
food, poison our air,
Money creates.
Strip
greed.
mine
poison our
Nauru.
water, shit in the rivers.
The richer get richer because the more money you have, the more money you want, the more money you need.
So it made greed's killing the world, and this is a microcosm of that.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic little example of it, a microcosm. Exactly, yeah. It is. This is what happens when you just don't give a fuck and take the money.
Yep.
Putting it bluntly, isn't it?
Mm.
We don't give a fuck. This is going to run out one day. Nah, I'll be alright.
If they're not considered like erosion as well, it's only a very small island. It could
Well,
just...
because of climate change, yeah, it's probably
It's
going to
just
be
going
under
to
the...
collapse, mate. It's
Yeah.
just a fucking empty shell. That's what I was saying earlier. Surely the amount they've mined out of this place is a fucking empty shell now.
I love the fact.
It is 80% of the island, I think, is uninhabitable now. It's a wasteland.
It is literally a fucking wasteland. And the worst of it is the Patriot Act in 2001 gave the power to prohibit American banks from dealing with, quote, rogue state institutions. So, because they've been selling their passports, they're a rogue state. So they get further sanctions put on them.
Yeah.
Today, Nauru is still searching for a place in the world economy. Since 2006, it has upgraded mining equipment and refurbished mining infrastructure to dig out harder to reach phosphate.
So they're going to fuck the country even more.
They're still doing 45,000 metric tonnes a year, but obviously that's nothing like in the past.
And it's harder to get to, so it's more expensive to get it out.
Beneath the sprinkling of... this is the worst of it is, below the sprinkling of primary surface phosphate, still left on top side, the plateau, it does have secondary reserves, perhaps as much as 20 million metric tonnes. Fuck me, how much is on this island? There's going to be nothing left. It's just going to be the fucking coastal road and the houses, isn't it?
It would be the first,
Donut.
ring island.
Yeah.
But of course, plans are underway to mine this last remaining phosphate, but it's not a long-term solution, is it? Again.
No.
But I suppose if they're getting 45,000 metric tonnes out a year, if they're happy with that, then they have got
It's still not
a
enough,
good
mate.
few years of mining.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but
costing
it's
more.
harder and harder each time you go down further and further.
Yeah.
It's costing
Until
more
everything
and
just
more.
sinks into the sea.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the solution.
No.
I'm just saying it's the reality of it. They might have. They've given themselves another 100 years with that 20 million a ton if they leave it at the rate they're doing now.
Well, it gets a little bit worse for them in all fairness. Because in 2007, Australia shut its detention camp, only to reopen it again in 2012. Now, Tony Abbott, former Australian Prime Minister, said, "I've been to Nauru and it's quite a pleasant island. It's no means an unpleasant place to live." And Tony Abbott even talked of expanding the Nauru camp in 2013 to hold as many 15,000 asylum seekers. This on an island with no natural water supply. But by 2014 there were more than 1,200 asylum seekers, Afghans, Sri Lankans, Pakistanis, Iraqis, Iranians, living in tents, fenced in on top side. Dusty and parched in the dry season. The detention and processing centre is muddy and miserable in the wet season.
Fucking hell, sounds like fucking paradise, doesn't it? Jesus.
So they're just like sticking them on where next to the mining bit,
Yeah.
in fenced off tents, live in that.
And of course, they're not going to take it, are they?
They've gone on hunger strikes and sewn their lips together. Wow.
It's quite extreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that unless things are really shit.
Riots have broken out, destroying much of the detention facility, although it was quickly rebuilt. And Amnesty International's Graham Tom describes the camp as, quote, "not only extraordinarily ill-conceived, but cruel." Yeah, it's just shit, isn't it?
Yeah. No trees, no grass, no birds,
No,
nothing to do.
no air conditioning in the tents. Oh,
Must be
desperation.
like hell on earth.
In early 2019, there's still 350 people awaiting processing. One of the women, originally from Iran, after nearly 7 years in Nauru, attempted suicide. To quote her, she said, "It is like a slow death for me. I don't want to come to Australia any longer. My only desire is death."
You know.
Mate, Jesus. What a nightmare.
She's been broken, man.
Oh, just
Yeah.
a bit. Fucking hell.
Desperation seems to pervade all of Nauru. High unemployment is endemic. With few restaurants and only a handful of hotels, Nauru has little tourism. Landing by air, the island looks alluring. Up close, you find rusting cars, run-down houses and rotting garbage. Nauruan homes are very basic and often seem partly built. Australian journalist Kathy McLeish wrote in 2013, "Rubbish litters roads and yards, or decades-old infrastructure is broken and left to decay."
It sounds like a good way to have a nice cheap holiday, though.
You know what?
Nice climate,
I was thinking that if they've got an all-inclusive, You'd go that, wouldn't you?
Well, trouble is, it's $50 for a melon.
Yeah, it's
And there's
about
no
4p.
Yeah, there's no water, that is an
It's
issue.
about
No, it's
4p,
not.
that's fine.
No, it's not.
No, it's about 30 quid, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah. Because they have to import all their food and water, so
Mm.
it's exponentially high. So you can go there for cheap, but it won't be cheap to
A bit
live.
like Menorca and Isle of Wight, places like that, they are particularly expensive. Isle of Wight's like London prices,
They
Yeah.
import everything.
and
haven't they?
Menorca, it's like London prices compared to Spanish prices. You think you're going to go on a nice cheap holiday because you're in Spain. Oh, fucking no!
Mm.
It's just as expensive as here.
Well, the only thing propping these guys up is Australian aid, offshore fishing licenses, send the remaining phosphate. In the recent years, bingo is the only private sector activity that's been thriving, and the government's finally trying to tax the game. God, it's always the same. No matter how shit things are, people always find money to gamble.
Because yeah,
Crazy, isn't it?
it's only the desperate people that gamble,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Generally, yeah.
Got nothing to do with them.
No. No, that's true.
It's hope. It's hope of getting out of a desperate situation. God, I might win the lottery this week. Things, my life.
Oh
might
shit! I
turn
never knew the
around.
lottery tonight. It was 147 million. Oh fuck! No, seriously, Euro Millions is 147 million. Meant to get a ticket. Bollocks.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't worry about it.
No,
Odds you're gonna win it.
you never know, Mike.
Got to be in it to win it. It could be you.
Oh, they don't do them
Remember that?
adverts anymore, do they?
With the big hand.
Yeah.
The big pointy finger.
Big finger of God coming down
coming
at
out
you.
of the clouds.
Yeah.
It could be you. What the fuck? You'd just have a heart attack there,
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
You would? Well, I'd be like, oh shit, I'm
But alcoholism is endemic too, so they're all drinking it up, aren't
Of
they?
course they are then.
Yeah.
Fuck all else to do, is there?
So, excluding asylum seekers, some 10,000 people now reside on Nauru. Almost all food is imported, even fresh water is shipped in when the desalinisation facility fails to meet needs. Processed and canned food makes up much of a diet heavy in salt, sugar and artificial ingredients, and Nauru has one of the world's highest obesity rates, with 2/3 of men and 3/4 of Nauruan women obese as well, as one of the highest rates of smoking. Around 1/4 of all Nauruan adults suffer from diabetes. Alcohol is endemic too, contributing to domestic violence and frequent drunk driving offences, even though all of the country's roads cover just 19 miles, which is 30 kilometres.
I'm definitely going to see how much it's going to cost to go on holiday there, you know.
Well, you just going on holiday in Telford.
Yeah. No, it does sound like a shit place to be, doesn't it? Really does. Telford isn't like that.
No,
Telford's
I'll
nice.
expand that to Hull. Hull. Definitely Hull.
Or Wolverhampton.
Maybe. So since the early 1900s, Nauru has lost at least 80% of its original vegetation. Over this time, it's exported around 80 million metric tons of phosphate.
That's redonkulous, isn't it?
Now, if dump trucks would fly, this would stretch from New York City to Tokyo and then go back. All of this phosphate came from an island 1/3 the size of Manhattan Island. It's tiny.
It is tiny, isn't it?
80 billion kilos. 80 billion kilos.
And tons.
Yeah, 80 million tons is 80 billion kilos.
Yeah.
Isn't
Like,
it
a kilo is a little bit more.
No, a ton is 1,000 kilos, isn't it?
Yeah, so 1,000 times 80 million would be
yeah.
80 billion.
Right,
Have
yeah.
you just been out mathed?
Oh, I'm not very good at maths, I admit. I'm better than you, though.
Oh, fuck yeah, I got it.
Don't question my maths!
Everyone's better than me.
Maths is my thing. But I just think it's a more of a relative measurement for
Yeah,
us
yeah,
as a
yeah.
person. You can lift a kilo, can't you? You can look at a kilo and know how much
Yeah.
a kilo is. And you think 80 billion of that
Yeah.
is just fucking ridiculous. That is fucking
Crazy.
Yep. And like you say, if they'd invested it wisely, or the phosphate company had been ripping them off all them years,
how
they'd
that
all
could-
live at
oh,
millionaires, be
God.
at Paradise Island.
Ugh.
Obviously, we still have the top side, which is shit, but they decided to blow it all on musicals and
Musicals and just. Well, the thing is,
dodgy
no
banks.
one's got any concept of money, have they?
Well,
You've got to use the resources you've got as well, though, haven't you?
The problem was they should have capitalised
Where
on
did you
it.
stop though?
You know when
Well, you've got to sustainably mine it, haven't you?
you know by '68 or
There's
whatever.
no such thing as sustainable mining, is there?
You got to make it last as long as you can, haven't you?
What they should have done when it comes to like '68 and they're taking 35 million tons, they should have all that money from that should have been invested into the place. They should have gone, right, we're all set up for life. We build over all of this now. We don't need to mine it anymore. We're fucking set up for life. That's what they should have done. They should have used the money they were getting from it in the fucking first place instead of it being outsourced by other people to make the money, because it was other people profiting off it, not the Nauruans.
Yeah.
So it's just such a shame
And
that
then when
the
they did-
Nauruans weren't always profiting from it,
Yeah.
and then
And
they
then when
would
they
have
did,
never.
when they did get independence, the government corruption and greed,
yeah.
and they squandered it.
Yeah, it's shit. Such a sad
Tragic,
state
isn't
of
it?
affairs.
Well, they could have put it into tourism or anything, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
Anything but
Yeah.
what they fucking did. Anything. They could have done it. They could have flushed it down their own toilets, and it probably would have
They
been
did.
a better choice.
They did. They were burning money using it as
Using
toilet paper. They've got no concept of what this is. It's not like us. They haven't been brought up in this environment where they learned and know what things should cost.
Yeah, by then, are you talking 100 years?
No, because none of them had any money before. So this is the 60s, they had money. They paid a token amount before that. You know, all of a sudden you've got hundreds in your bank rather than dozens. And you're just like, yeah,
They
fuck
just
it,
thought
here's the money.
They thought it had never run out.
It's
that's
like me at a strip club. It's like, yeah, throwing fivers at
It's
them.
because you think the money's never going to run out.
Yeah, but
If
that's...
only we still did pound notes.
Well, it'll be more Pete than a fiver. James Anakima, I'm going to go with that. Minister of the Nauru Congressional Church, who in 1999 passed away at the age of 88, dreamed of turning back time in the last years of his life. Speaking in 1995 with Philip Shannon of the New York Times, he lamented, "I wish we'd never discovered that phosphate. I wish Nauru could be like it was before. When I was a boy, it was so beautiful. There were trees, it was green everywhere, and we could eat the fresh coconuts and breadfruit. Now I see what's happened here, and I want to cry."
Oh.
Yeah. And yeah, like we said earlier, you know the global warming thing, yeah, it's eroding the coastline. One day, topside might all be the remains because the coast will just go.
So what's be left is that uninhabitable wasteland.
Shame.
Yeah.
Very sad, fluffy story.
Brutally ironic that originally it was nicknamed, it was called Pleasant Island. Man.
I just think it's a microcosm of our world. That's what we're doing to our world.
It is,
Taking
isn't it?
more resources than the planet can replenish itself. At the same time, we're destroying the environment.
Well, we're killing the place where we live. It's not a very smart idea, is it?
That's capitalism, isn't it? It needs constant growth. You can't have infinite growth on a finite planet.
What about democracy, Mike? Have we got that anymore?
Democracy?
No, to your line. Come on.
Well, no, we don't. We live in an oligarchy.
There we go. Fucking brilliant. Although I do applaud you as well
Yeah.
for doing the Obi-Wan voice when I said democracy, which I've been trying to train you to do, and you finally done it.
Train him to do.
Well, every time he says democracy, I go, democracy! And he's finally picked up on it.
And then he gives him a little chocolate treat.
Yep. We don't just live in an oligarchy, we live in a kakistocracy as well.
Ah! And, ooh, expanding the catchphrase, I love it. Here we do. The least among us rule us, it's tragic.
A what? A bukkake-optum?
Yeah.
What?
I wouldn't mind living in Bukakistan.
A kakistocracy, it means that the least moral, decent people among us rule us.
Caca means shit.
Yeah, just think of it
basically.
like that.
Well, unless you're me. I'm not corrupt yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're too low down,
Yeah.
too low hanging fruit.
Oh,
No
there
one
you
gives
go.
a shit about the deputy mayor, do they?
Oh,
Of a little village called
Yeah.
Dorley.
town. Oh well. On that note, I've been Ben. Thanks for listening. Don't do the favour, rain. Don't go cool.
I've been Mike, thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.
I've been Claire, thanks for listening. Maybe more, but not so easy to spill that your ears.
And I've been Pete. Everybody enjoy your week. Take care. Bye.